We are finishing our movie set today. I'm Stephen Human, welcome to Superhuman Customs. The last 2 weeks we did Cyborg and then we did Aquaman, and this is our last one with the Flash. So we've got the Justice League Flash, which I thought I would like the suit in the Flash movie better than I did, but it ended up just being a little bit too spandexy. I don't know, it was very rubbery and not at all what I kind of was excited about. It didn't feel quite real. Where this one does. I mean, it's a very unique suit, lots of details. So what we're gonna do is we're going to make this guy metallic. I've got some red metallic paint, and we're gonna make him so that he sparkles a little bit and add in all the details, and then he will go up with our movie characters, with Blue Beetle and everybody. It's gonna be awesome. So let's go ahead and jump in, make this guy look cool. Like with so many of these movie figures, we're gonna start with a wash. Now yes, we are gonna do a red metallic on this guy, but I wanna go darker first. Like with all these ones we've been doing lately, we go darker and then we go lighter. And so that means we've gotta put a wash on this guy. Not gonna spray paint in black or do anything like that, because I wanna keep the red here, because as you've seen with the metallic paints in general, they do better over the color that, a similar color. So since he's gonna be a metallic red, having the red here is exactly what we want. But I am going to use a little bit more of a dry brush technique with this metallic red. And so I do want some of these more details to be darker. So we're just gonna go through all over him with the wash. And that's about the simplest thing you can do. And he's gonna look pretty cool even with just that. As you've seen with some of the other movie figures, a little bit of wash goes a long way on these guys with all these details. So I'm using the same Art Deco paint with the metallic that I have with the blue and the green. It's worked out pretty well in the past, and that's what we're gonna do. You can see he's pretty dark. So let's go ahead and start adding in the metallic. I'm gonna go over the top just really lightly, like a dry brush, but it's going on pretty light, so I think I'm going to try, I might go on a little bit thicker than I otherwise would. But let's see how this turns out. I'm just going to go through light, and if I need to put a second coat on, I will. And we'll see how this looks after a brief coat, a quick coat, and then a second coat as well. As I'm going through this guy, I'm feeling that definitely he's going to need a second coat, because it's going on super light, which is usually really good with this metallic paint. That's what I like about it. But with this one, because we darken him up, it's not giving sort of the brightness that I want from this Flash. I don't want him to be so dark. So I'll go through and do this first coat, and then we'll do a second and lighten him up a little bit. And I think that's gonna give me the look that I am after. Second coat. And you can see it's brightening up a little bit. That's more of the shade that I want, is I want it to be brighter. And I'm glad that we did the wash, because it is darkening up a lot of these areas, and I'm able to lighten it up. Because I want this guy to be a little bit brighter. That was the problem with the Snyderverse, is that they kind of went dark for darkness sake, and not necessarily, in my opinion, for like character reasons. And so everything was just dark, and that's not interesting, honestly. If you have a dark character and they're meant to be dark, then that can be interesting. But if you're just like, everybody's dark, well, that's not interesting. And having a dark Flash, I mean, obviously personality-wise, they did a good job with the Barry Allen character, but with his costume, it wasn't bright. So I'm liking having this brighter costume, and that red is turning out a little bit more along the lines of what I wanted for this figure. So let's just move through and get the rest of him painted and see where we go from there. Right now I'm going through with some of this red, and I'm going to hit some of these areas and just see if I can highlight them a little bit more. I don't know if it's going to work, but I would like to have some areas that are just brighter red and look, that stand out a little bit more. I'm not sure if it's going to work, honestly. I might have to do it with some silver or something, but it seems to be working kind of on some of these areas on the legs. So we'll go through and see, and if not, we'll add some silver and call it good. So going back over with the metallic red didn't really work the way I wanted to. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go through with this neon red that we used on the Hellbat, and I'm gonna do it with that instead. And just hit some of these areas. It's a different red, but it will add some highlights and it will stand out because it's really, really bright. I mean, you saw how it picked up the, all of the accents on that Hellbat. And so just gonna go through and add some accents here, and I think this is gonna work. It's gonna lighten him up a little bit. I might even wanna do a little bit of a dry wash on him, or a dry brush with this. We'll see. But yeah, that's looking pretty good with just those little dabs. We just want contrast. We want things to stand out. We want them to look a little different. And this is how you do it, just playing around with paints and textures and colors. And it's gonna get you what you're after. Now that we've got the red done, I'm gonna go through with some silver on these wires that he's got going across here. Because in the movie things are kind of being held together with some wires, because this is supposed to be like shielding from the, basically like a ceramic. And so we're just going to go through and hit some of these wires with the silver nice and light. And if we get a little slop over, then we'll just go back over with the red and cover it up, because that's going to happen sometimes. But this will add a lot of detail. As you can see already, it's going to make these stand out and make him look that much cooler. And it's these sorts of things that really make a figure like this stand out. I'm getting texts. So I'm just going to go through and hit all of these, and then we'll take a look. I'll patch up some of the red where it got screwy and go from there. And this is just a Vallejo. This is just standard silver Vallejo. Nothing special about it, except that it goes on nice and awesome. Touching up the black around some of these lines, and I realized that this area underneath his chin, I believe, is black. So I'm just painting that in. And if it's not, it actually looks better with it black. So I'm gonna make it black because I think it looks better that way. And sometimes you get to make that choice. See, I think it looks better. Much like what I did with the Electro Superman, I'm going through with a very watered down version of this metallic paint and going over the top of everything. It's helping to tone down all of the stuff that I did and also fill in any like gaps that don't feel quite like right. And that trick worked really well with Electro Superman, and it's helping with this guy too, because I think with all the different layers of red and stuff, it was looking a little bit like I had painted it as opposed to it being factory. And this helps a lot to make it look a little bit more like, oh, this is how it was when it came out of the, when McFarlane finished it. And it's just helping it to stand out and to look a little less like, oh, look, Steve painted it, and more like this is how it was always meant to be. Quickly, I'm going through with the wash, and I'm just hitting some of the silver and toning it down a little bit. Just really nice and light. I don't want them all to look like, they're straight brand new, but I do want them to not be just straight black either. So I'm just going through nice and light, and adding some of this and then wiping where I need to. That's giving a little bit more toned down look, which is great. And while I have the wash out, I am going to hit some of these areas and just accent them a little bit. Because since this is a movie figure, I like having some of these areas just highlighted. They look better. I don't like doing it with the comic book accurate ones because it doesn't quite look right, but with the movie ones, having some of this accented really does just help a lot. And I think after going through so many layers with the red, it just needs a few areas to just stand out. So that's all I'm doing right now, is making things stand out. Not something that I was planning on doing, but I think it's the right choice. I'm gonna lighten up the area around his symbol a little bit, just to make it stand out. Whoops, I'm getting it in places I don't want to get it. Oh no, that happens sometimes. I can pick that up. I've watered down the white, and I'm just doing a little bit, but I ended up getting too much. So I will take a little bit of toilet paper here in a second and clean up around it, but that will whiten it up. And then I'm gonna go through with the gold, and we're gonna touch up and just brighten up some of the gold here so that it stands out more, add some more contrast to the figure. And then we will spray him with some clear coat, call it good. Doing this gold is actually making a huge difference. I'm surprised. It looks awesome. All right, let's clear coat this guy. Make him a little bit shinier. And here he is. He turned out pretty nice. I like the shine to him. He looks pretty different. I kind of wanted him a little bit brighter, but that has to do with the paint that I chose, and I just kind of assumed, this is the first time I've used that metallic red, and so I just kind of assumed it was going to be a little bit brighter. So it really kind of matches what he was in tone, but he's just more metallic. So I'm fine with that. Again, he could have been brighter, but he looks good. I actually forgot to get a close-up of him before he was done, so unfortunately I don't have a side-by-side to show you. But instead I will show you a side-by-side with the old Flash, and you can see the difference between these figures. So there you go. We've completed the Justice League and our movie figures for now. I don't know, I think I've kind of gotten all of them that I want currently, and obviously the DCEU is ending and we're moving on to the DCU, and we'll see what happens there in the next couple of years. So this wraps up the movie figures that we're going to be working on. And you guys, thank you so much for watching. Subscribe, tell your friends if they're into this sort of stuff. And remember, check out StephenHuman.com for all of my novels, and I'll see you guys next week.